production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the Obama administration wants to stop paying farm payments to non-farmers. Weather forecasters are predicting our wet spring will continue. In southern gardening, we'll look at some odd plants in the garden zone. In the food factor, try some natural dyes this year when coloring your Easter eggs. In the markets, antibiotics in chicken get the spotlight as fast food comes under scrutiny, while farm gate milk prices may hang near the cost of production for now, but no higher. In the feature segment, the present Mississippi Forestry Association Outstanding Logger of the Year.
People see a logging job and they say, oh, look how bad that looks. But if they go by a field that's being farmed, they don't think no different. We own the same conditions as a farmer. Ours is in a 30-year rotation instead of a 1-year rotation.
Good day, everyone. I'm Artis Ford, and welcome to Farm Week. Leighton Spann has the day off. Well, it was written into the new Farm Bill, and the Obama administration says it's going to tighten the requirements on who can receive farm payments. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced Wednesday that it's seeking comments on its plans to further limit who can receive federal farm payments. The deadline for comments is May 26. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack said the proposed rule would close a loophole that larger joint ventures and general partnerships take advantage of. The USDA will limit payments to so-called non-farmers starting in 2016. In the past, the USDA said some designated as farm managers received farm payments even though they were not actively involved in the farm's management. Under the new rule, to receive a payment, non-family joint ventures and general partnerships must document that the farm managers are putting in at least 500 hours of substantial management a year, or 25% of the farm's critical management time. Large and complex operations would be allowed payments for up to 3 farm managers. The USDA change would supposedly affect only joint ventures and general partnerships. Family farm operations would be exempt. The deadline for comments is May 26. Well, it appears our wet spring has a good chance of staying wet for Mississippi farmers. The Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has released its April through June outlook. NOAA calls for all the state to have a good chance of being wetter than normal for the period. That chance increases from 33 to 50% as you travel from the northwest part of the state down to the southeast part. Now, most of the southeast U.S. has a 33% or better chance of having more precipitation than normal. When it comes to temperatures, Mississippi's may be near normal. The white area of the map has equal chances of having above or below normal temperatures. Well, with that bit of unwelcome news, let's check on the Mississippi Weekly Crop Report from the Mississippi Ag Statistics Service in Jackson. Now, this report reflects conditions as of last Sunday, March 22nd. Corn planting is running far behind in Mississippi, and other crops are set to follow. As we look at topsoil moisture in the state, now this is as of last Sunday, surplus in 84% of Mississippi, adequate only 16% of the state, and as you can see, nothing in the short category, nothing in the very short category. Now, as we look at Mississippi corn at this point, 0% planted in the state due to our saturated soil conditions. The average, 5-year average for this state is 17%, so we are running far behind. Mississippi rice at this point, we're about to get ready for rice, 0% planted, and the 5-year average is 0 for this state. Now, Mississippi watermelons are running behind just a little bit, 2% as of March 22nd. The 5-year average for the state is 6%, and Mississippi wheat heading is just started, only 1% of the crop as of last Sunday, and the average for this state is 3%. But as we look at the condition of Mississippi's wheat crop, we can see that this rain has had some effect. Only 5% of the crop's in excellent shape, 37% good, 27% fair, but 16% of the crop in poor condition and 15% in very poor condition. Mississippi blueberries, only bright spot on the crop report this week. 41% of the crop in excellent shape, 47% in good condition, fair 11%. Only 1% of the crop is described as being in poor shape. Well, dyeing Easter eggs with family and friends is fun, but what about putting a new twist on this old tradition? In this week's episode of The Food Factor, Natasha Haynes of the Mississippi State University Extension Service shows us how to dye eggs the natural way.
I love a good Easter egg hunt, but do you know what I love even more? Decorating the eggs, especially when it's done all natural. Be creative this Easter, using items from your pantry or refrigerator to dye your boiled eggs. Use red cabbage to create vibrant blues, onion skins for red and orange colorings, and turmeric spices for beautiful yellows. Visit our Pinterest page for more specific recipes. To begin, place your chosen dye stuff in a saucepan of water and bring to a boil. Simmer for up to an hour until you're happy with the color. Cool and strain the liquid, then pour the concentrate into a sealable container or a mason jar. Remember to add a tablespoon of white vinegar to give a vibrant punch. Submerge the boiled eggs completely in the liquid. Seal the container and refrigerate overnight. The next morning, air dry and rub with olive or vegetable oil to make those eggs shine. All natural dyes create an extraordinary Easter basket and a fun family project. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
As Natasha said, for more natural ways to dye your Easter eggs this year, be sure to visit the Mississippi State University Extension Service's Pinterest page. Well, the world of horticulture can offer the commonplace, and it can also offer some unique and unusual plants. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Twilight Zone host Rod Serling shows us two botanical oddities.
You unlock this door with the key of curiosity and you enter another dimension. A dimension of sights, a dimension of smells, a dimension of textures. You move into a dimension of both nature and permutations. You've just crossed over into the garden zone. It's winter and cold outside, and today we're at Pine Hills Nursery checking out a couple of very unusual plants. Our first botanical oddity is the citron plant. You may know citron as one of those candied fruits used in the holiday fruitcakes that you always throw away. But have you ever dared to discover what the real citron fruit actually looks like? At first glance, the fruit looks kind of like a lemon gone wild. No wonder it's called by the common name of Buddha hand. The fruit is multi-fingered and has a remarkable appearance, and are actually bigger than most people's hands. Another plant that comes from a dimension beyond that which is known to man is mother of thousands. There are several varieties that use the same common name. The leaves are actually thickened structures called phylloclades, and these plants have a unique form of propagation. During the short days of winter, baby plantlets, and I mean lots of baby plantlets, develop along the edges. The baby plantlets actually develop roots, so they are ready to start growing wherever they fall off. Some years the plants even produce stalks with an umbrella-like inflorescence with bell-shaped pink flowers. So the next time you're feeling daring and courageous, travel to a dimension as timeless as infinity. Daring to delve into this dimension might even make your thumbs turn green. It's an area that we call the garden zone. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Love the Twilight Zone. Well, now Buddha hands are for more than good looks. Go online and you can find lots of recipes for its use. In our feature segment today, the present Mississippi Forestry Association Outstanding Logger of the Year, Jason Smith of Brookhaven, says tree farming is true farming and trees ability to regrow makes them a great resource. Well, it's time for the markets with Leighton Spann, but since Leighton is not here this week, you have to put up with me. The Planting Intentions Report will be released on Tuesday. A survey by Farm Futures magazine says a record number of beans will be planted in 2015. We'll see the government number on the 31st. As far as the markets this week, low oil prices could hurt cotton sales. At retail, the issue of antibiotics in chicken pressures fast food companies, while farm gate milk prices may nudge lower. Well, now cotton is being described by some analysts as a limited market here at the end of March. Traders say that despite expected lower planted acreage, competition from cheap synthetic fabrics could keep a lid on cotton prices. Synthetics are cheaper now because of the drop in oil prices. Market watcher Sue Martin says that the strength of the dollar in recent weeks is not helping the cotton trade either.
Cotton had a nice little holding pattern and then kind of just all of a sudden started to cave over. You know, the dollar I think might be affecting that too. But being an oil seed, Malaysian palm oil has given up and fallen on concern that it's starting to lose favor. Slowing economy in China means maybe they don't buy as much cotton. And of course, they had built up huge reserves and sold a bunch of it out last year.
Well, analysts call the adjustment made by the USDA to the corn ending stocks this month as, quote, minor. Well, however, the market reacted just like it reacted when the same report didn't change soybean ending stocks at all. Extension economist John Michael Riley explained it to Leighton.
Well, John Michael, I understand USDA tightened corn ending stocks. What changed to bring that about?
Well, we saw smaller use at the ethanol level and smaller exports. That was somewhat offset by increased feed use. But at the end of the day, 50 million fewer bushels of corn in the ending stock number. The market was looking for roughly no change, and so that definitely, had a minor impact. Again, 50 million bushels is a drop in the bucket in the big scheme of things when you're talking about a 14 billion bushel crop, a record crop still expected. So overall, I think it was minor changes. Market reacted because markets react to things like that, but for the most part, it was some minor changes. We're seeing fewer miles driven today. We've seen a huge increase in the the value of the U.S. dollar relative to other currencies, and that's really put some pressure on exports. Both of those were reflected in the report, and also we're seeing cattle being fed a little longer because of the market, and so we're seeing more corn put into feedlots.
And although we talk about, a change there, still U.S. ending stocks still way above what they were a year ago, right?
Oh, yes.
We're not running out of corn by any means.
Right, we're right there, just under the 2 billion bushel mark with our corn ending stocks, which is much a relief in the marketplace. Of course, I guess it depends on what side of the market you're on. As a corn producer, would like to see it maybe a little tighter, but overall, we have a lot more cushion in the market compared to where we have been in recent years.
Now, soybean ending stocks were left unchanged, and that kind of caught the market off guard, right?
That's right. Market participants were looking for a 10 million bushel decrease in ending stock, still sitting there at 385 million bushels soybean ending stock. So again, minor change in the big scheme of things, but overall, this time of year, those minor changes are expected because we know a lot more about what the crop is last year's crop looks like. So these minor changes, but they still have an impact on the market.
All right, we're coming up on that all-important planting intentions report at the end of March. What do you expect the market for beans and corn to do between now and then?
Well, USDA had their Outlook conference at the end of February, and they're calling for smaller soybeans and smaller corn, which I think the soybean number kind of took market participants a little bit out of off guard. Sorry, yeah. Yes. But overall, I think that should be expected. We're looking at a corn to soybean ratio right now of about 2.3. That's probably average. So we really shouldn't see there's not really one leader here in terms of prices dictating acres, but it does look like that right now we're relatively smaller on both fronts as a result of lower prices.
Well, the increase in the value of the dollar that John Michael just mentioned also hurts the wheat market as well. Traders say that the overall fundamentals remain bearish. Analyst Darren Newsom says European wheat will sell first given the situation.
The dollar still too strong, euro still too weak. You just mentioned how it continues to come down. So right now we're going to be moving. We're going to see more European wheat move. It still seems that the argument is that we're going to see some U.S. wheat move. I mean, we've got an inverse in the Chicago market in the March to May, something we just normally don't see. So at some point it seems like we're going to see our exports pick up, but it's just not there yet.
The livestock sector furnishes a topic for our trivia question this week, and here it is. How much of the pork produced in the United States is exported? Is the answer 10%, 14.8%, 26.5%, or 37.3%? You'll find out in a few minutes. We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. McDonald says in 2 years, its chicken will not contain any antibiotics used in humans. In the feature segment today, a logger who says we need to think of trees as a crop.
I've got a lot of choices to make in the coming years, and I really want to make sure that I get it all right. I want to discover who I am, where I belong, what my dreams are. I want to find my hidden talents and see where those skills can take me in the future. I need leadership given today to help me make the right decisions tomorrow. And I have that with Mississippi 4-H.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The new Albany Home and Garden Show takes place Friday and Saturday, April 10th and 11th. The hours are 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. It takes place at the Union County Fairgrounds. Lawns, container gardening, butterfly gardening, food preservation, antique tractors. There's all that and more on the agenda. Master Naturalist training is set to start Tuesday, April 21st, and it will meet weekly through June 16th. It takes place at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science in Jackson. Now, the program is similar in scope to the Mississippi State University's Extension Services Master Gardener program. You'll learn about Mississippi's flora, insects, birds, and animals. It costs $200 and requires 40 hours of classroom instruction and 40 hours of volunteer service within 1 year. You need to register by April 14th. Go to masternaturalist.msucares.com for more information. And you can go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on this and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot. Well, Reuters reports that the pressure is on in the fast food industry. Pressure to phase out the use of chicken raised with antibiotics that are important to human health. McDonald's raised the stakes recently when it announced that it will have all antibiotic-free chicken within 2 years. KFC, meanwhile, is really on the hot seat since it has no publicly stated policy on antibiotic use in the chicken it buys. And Chick-fil-A says about 20% of the chicken it serves nationwide is raised without antibiotics. As of now, its entire supply chain will be antibiotic-free by 2019. Well, moving to the dairy sector, the United States is described as being full of milk right now. Analyst Naomi Bloom says until the market moves through the current glut, farm gate milk prices will likely be stable to sideways, right at the cost of production.
What we had happen was, that big rally we had last year, and then as we had said all along, it's just a demand thing right now. And so once the demand stopped, everything fell apart. But then just a few weeks ago, then the Frontiera global export market, they said that they thought New Zealand production was going to be down 3.3%, and anything over 1% in the milk world is a big deal. So that's what got that market to turn around back higher. But here's the thing, we still have all of this supply.
Back to the trivia quiz to wrap things up on Farm Week this week. And C is the right answer. Over 26% of the pork produced in the United States is exported to another country. Have you ever thought of a forest as a farm field? Well, that surprising observation came from the subject of today's feature story. Jason Smith of Brookhaven is the President Mississippi Forestry Association Outstanding Logger of the Year. The young businessman has already built a reputation for conservation, safety, generosity, and service to the logging industry.
I'm just a name. My guys that's out here with me, that's Jason Smith Logging.
It was probably inevitable Jason Smith of Brookhaven, Mississippi would own his own logging business. The third-generation logger grew up surrounded by grandparents, parents, uncles, and cousins in the logging industry. As a result, at the age of 36, he has more experience and expertise than his youth might imply. He's worked full-time in logging since 1998. Smith worked with his father Jimmy and for 4 years co-owned the J.S. Timber Company with him. With his father looking toward retirement, Smith formed his own company in 2011.
There's a lot of good loggers in the southwest part of Mississippi, and the thing that kind of stood out to us is he's just a man of character and integrity, and he enjoys what he does, and he's real passionate about it.
Those who know Smith say one of his strongest attributes is you can trust him to take care of the land. Smith cuts for Resource Management Service of Birmingham, Alabama. When Smith harvests a property, RMS says you know he will exceed the requirements of the best management practices for forestry. Smith is also trained in the Sustainable Forestry Initiative.
That's one thing about Jason. When you're done, it's kind of what you see out here today. The place is certainly going to be in better shape than it was when he got here. It's going to be clean. If you look around, just the landscape of his log jobs, everything's cut down, it's clean, it's kind of to the ground. His dozer work is impeccable. He goes above and beyond.
Jason Smith Logging is known for its safety. His 7-man crew has had no lost time accidents since the company started in 2011. Rather than conducting safety training himself, Smith carries his commitment one step further. He pays an outside company to do it.
Southern Safety Solutions started this. We got on board right when he started doing it, just so we would be sure we would have our safety meetings once a month. And I mean, he comes out, he schedules it, and he documents it, and plus we get an hour continuing education when he does come out and do that.
And at the end of the day, he wants everybody to return home and to be safe so they can get back home with their wife and kids. And that's the most important thing that he emphasizes to his crew on a daily basis.
One of Smith's top priorities is his family. He and his wife Kayla have 4 sons. She keeps the books for the company. Kayla and Jason are also active supporters of the Mississippi logging industry. Jason has served in the past as the president of the Mississippi Loggers Association. He is presently the vice president of the Southwest District of the MLA. Kayla serves as the district's secretary. The Smith family is very active in MLA's Log-A-Load for Kids program. Jason's mother, Ann, was one of the founding members of the state Log-A-Load for Kids committee when the MLA joined this nationwide effort in 1994. Through auctions and other fundraising events, the MLA has donated a total of $1.1 million to the Children's Hospital at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson. Unfortunately, Ann Smith passed away in 2007, but the family's commitment to Log-A-Load for Kids hasn't diminished.
Right when that was getting started in the mid-90s, my mama, she was one of the founding members. That's kind of a thing that drives us now.
The Smith family and logging are practically synonymous in southwest Mississippi. Jason's grandfather, Paul B. Smith, and his grandmother, Wessie, started the family's logging heritage when he returned from World War II. Paul B. Smith's 3 sons, including Jason's father, Jimmy, became loggers. Jason and his 2 brothers have their own logging companies. When it comes to awards, the Smiths are well represented. Jason's cousin Jeff Lee was MFA Logger of the Year in 2001. Jason's father was the 2004 MLA Logger of the Year. His uncle Curtis Smith was the MFA Logger of the Year in 2006. His brother Brad was honored with the title in 2008. His brother Lance was the Lincoln County Forestry Association's Logger of the Year in 2003. It took hard work and flexibility for Jason Smith to get through the recession. He harvested for companies and private landowners. Most people don't realize logging companies are just like businesses you find on a city street. Smith estimates he has at least $1.5 million worth of equipment. He tries to replace a major piece every year. Smith also keeps backup equipment so if something breaks, the crew can continue to work. With expenses like these, downtime is costly. If diesel is $3.35 a gallon, Smith pays about $2,000 a day.
Our average fuel consumption a day is 600 gallons or more just on a small operation.
Smith says logging sites can appear ugly to the uninitiated, but when harvested properly and replanted, forestry is sustainable.
People see a logging job and they say, oh, look how bad that looks. But if they go by a field that's being farmed, they don't think no different. We own the same conditions as a farmer. Ours is in a 30-year rotation instead of a 1-year rotation.
Well, you can watch this story again on Jason Smith on our Farmweek website. That's farmweek.msucares.com, our Facebook page, or YouTube. You can also find our fan page at facebook.com/FarmweekUSA. And that story first aired last fall here on Farm Week, and Jason has been happy to see the price of diesel come down here in recent days, because as you know that they have such tremendous expenses in terms of getting the logs out of the woods, all that diesel to get them over the road to the different mills, but Jason has done well. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, electronic moisture sensors. They may be one of the biggest advances in modern irrigation. This summer, more Mississippi farmers will be using them to increase their yields while using less groundwater. In the Food Factor, we'll tell you about a dirty little secret found in most kitchens. In Southern Gardening, we'll have the 2015 Mississippi Medallion Award winners. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.